So, Rosemary, how have you been doing since last week?
I'm a happy-go-lucky ray of sunshine.
What? Oh, you're not. Sunshine is made of photons. You're not made of photons. Are you?
No, Actually, wait, Dawson, can I borrow your glasses?
Can we make it smaller for your big head? No. I'm just trying to find Rosemary.
Actually, humans are technically partially made up of photons, specifically biophotons, which is ultra-weak light generated and emitted by the human body. In fact, it's actually a form of visible radiation.
Radiation? Like nuclear bombs? Am I going to explode?
What? No. Here, let's cut to the intro while I explain this to you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Real Deal, Ball State's premier entertainment news show. I'm your host, Rosemary.
And I'm Dawson. So, I'm not going to blow up and cause a nuclear winter.
No,
And no one else is going to explode?
you hit the nail on the head, Dawson.
Pardon? I only use screws. They're much easier to use and don't cause as much potential damage. Just look at all the 5-minute craft videos. Those are done by professionals.
No, it was a figure of speech, an idiom.
What did you just call me? Did you just call me an idiot? A stupid person? I'm not a stupid person. You're a stupid person. So I failed a couple classes last semester. Okay? All my classes. Maybe I am a failure. Maybe I didn't actually pass my biology class freshman year of high school. Who cares? Certainly not you. You still took my advice on how to deal with Gilliam or whatever his name was.
Whoa. Okay, lot to unpack there. Sorry I struck a nerve.
What are you talking about? I don't have any exposed nerves. That would hurt. A lot.
No, I didn't mean it literally. I was just pressing your buttons.
What? Buttons! I don't have any buttons, just little levers and switches and little flashing lights. I'm a Reuben Garrett Lucius Goldberg machine, Rosemary.
Okay, cut to the first segment. I need to explain what figures of speech are to Dawson.
What figures? Speech is not tangible, Rosemary. You can't touch it. It has no form unless you write it down, I suppose, but that doesn't matter. You can't touch it. It's not matter. Language exists merely in our minds.
Hey now, I'm Sean, and there's something I've been needing to get off my chest. I smell my own farts, and I know this might come as a shock to you, but this is who I am, and if you can't accept me for me, then I don't want you in my life anyways.
So, what you're telling me is that a figure of speech is technically intangible.
I guess, but that's not the point. The point is that a figure of speech isn't literal. You say one thing that means another.
So you were lying.
No, I wasn't lying. I was just being creative.
Then stop doing that. The Real Deal is not here to fester your creativity. This is a serious organization dedicated to bringing the news of the world.
What? Since when? I can't remember the last time the two of us talked about actual news. We always just go on tangents and tell stories that may or may not be true.
May or may not be true, Rosemary. I would never lie on a news network.
What about when you said you kicked cats a couple of episodes back? That wasn't a lie?
No, it wasn't. It is 100% true that I, Dawson Blankenbuehler-Lee, do indeed take sadistic pleasure in the kicking of cats.
What about snake news?
Snake news is informative journalism at its finest.
So what you're saying is that John T. Snakesworth and Snake Enterprises are real?
There are an infinite number of universes, Rosemary. Everything is real, especially John T. Snakesworth and Snake Enterprises.
Oh no, you're doing it again. Cut to the next segment so Dawson has some time to calm down from whatever that is.
When scouring through albums to review for this week's episode, I came across the mixtape Well Isn't This Awkward by Charles Hamilton, which I first listened to about 6 months ago. Now that I've remembered it, I cannot believe I haven't talked about it here yet. This mixtape is so goofy, yet so impressive, that it almost cancels it out completely. This mixtape tells the story of Charles Hamilton's unhealthy obsession with Rihanna and his quest to woo her by becoming famous. Alongside his 2005 album, The Pink Lava Lamp, this mixtape did actually propel Hamilton to the very top of the underground rap scene at the end of the 2000s, although I don't believe Rihanna ever took notice. These projects also managed to earn Hamilton a studio session and cosign from Kanye, which actually held a lot of weight back then. Kanye's influence is extremely apparent on Well Isn't This Awkward, from the signature Chipmunk soul production to the same style of flows, rhyme schemes, and sort of nerdy touches that are essential to Kanye's early music. Hamilton does, however, inject enough of his own personality and experimentation into the tape to warrant this review at all. My favorite beat here is on the track Romantic Vents, which samples Rihanna's Say It for the instrumental to further push the story. The Penthouse Elevator also features punchy bass and catchy sample chops while continuing the romantic yet introspective themes of the tape. The final two tracks are perhaps the most interesting, called In Case It Doesn't Work Out and In Case I Actually Get Hurt. The former also boasts an amazing, emotionally charged beat and follows Hamilton dealing with self-doubt and also the painful realization for him that he will probably never get to be with Rihanna. In Case I Actually Get Her is actually one of the slowest and gentlest on the tape, exerting a more victorious energy from the echoed guitar picks and the beat and lyrics that follow Hamilton emerging from his limerence with Rihanna by his side. I think the idea of having two endings is super unique, and it's pulled off quite well here. I would recommend that anyone listen to this at least once in their lifetime. Until next time, Real Dealers.
So, are we going to talk about what's been going on with you?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
We've had to cut to a segment twice now because you keep going ballistic on me for the weirdest reasons possible.
Rosemary, weird is not a real thing. It's a social stigmata established by the dominant socioeconomic ethnic group of a given culture. It's just a promise of being shunned for doing certain actions those at the top deem as threatening to their power. Stalin saw free speech as weird. Would you agree with that sentiment, Rosemary? Are you a red? A commie?
No, I wouldn't. Why are you talking to me about Stalin and the societal origins of being weird? Have you been taking a sociology class or something?
Rosemary, we've been over this. I don't believe in the American education system, especially college. It's a waste of time for people as smart as I am.
You didn't know what glasses were until earlier this season. You didn't know what a figure of speech was until like 10 minutes ago.
Time is a construct invented by the human mind to cope with a world it can't begin to fathom. It has a way of bringing order to the infinite universes of chaos.
Infinite universes? You've been watching Rick and Morty, haven't you?
No, Rosemary, that would be stupid. I wouldn't waste my time watching the animated rambles of madmen. Instead, I've been watching the rambles of men in our world.
What men?
Ronald Reagan and his domestic education policies. Here, cut to the third segment, and I'll explain it to you.
Now that March Madness is over, I can say it did not disappoint. We got South Carolina beating Iowa in women's and leading it to be the first championship game where the women's game had more viewers than the men's. Then we also have UConn defeating Purdue. Now that it's all over and some of the bigger names like Caitlin Clark and Zach Edey are going to the WNBA and NBA, I'm looking forward to see where those teams end up next year. But now with the madness of March being over, there's no good sports to watch until the WNBA and football season. Or if you're an Olympics person, then the Summer Olympics. But let's be honest, I like to watch the NBA, but their tournament is not exciting like March Madness is. March Madness, you don't see the same players doing the same stuff for years on end, and the excitement of upsets is way better than watching a series of games with the same team for multiple nights. If the NBA tournament was as exciting as March Madness, I think I'd be more excited for the tournament.
Oh my God, so Reagan is the reason I have to take so many standardized tests.
Technically, No Child Left Behind is the reason for that. But Reagan is the one that cut education spending in half during his presidency, and led to the current emphasis on test-taking and memorization over actual learning.
Wait, but for the last 2 episodes, all I've been hearing about is how cool, awesome, and great Ronald Reagan and his policies were. The DARE program and Reaganomics.
Rosemary, none of that was real. That was just satire written by our head writer, who's more political than he'd like to admit, and, like all college students, thinks his political commentary is so good it makes him the second coming of Christ.
So, DARE isn't a successful drug policy?
Not even close. And before you ask, trickle-down economics doesn't work either.
But it does go down.
If that were true, neither of us would be in crippling debt right now, would we?
Oh, yeah. I guess that is a good point. Wait, how did you learn all of this? How did you come to be so enlightened?
My third eye was opened up by John T. Snakesworth. Because, if nothing else, Snake News is the one thing on this show that is 100% totally not a lie or a joke, but in fact true. Speaking of Snake News, it's time for our final words. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome back to Snake News. Today on Snake News, wizards and how they may be taking your jobs. As more and more young squires learn magic and attend the College of Winterhold, jobs for the common peasant have become more obsolete. Blacksmiths' unemployment rates have risen 11.6% in the past 4 years, with market analysts theorizing that this is because fewer knights are buying armor, as it's ineffective against the most common forms of magic. In fact, metal armor puts the chivalrous at a disadvantage against pyromancers. Stable boys have also seen a drop in employment as horses are far more susceptible to mind control magic than even the dumbest of barbarians. Industry isn't the only field that's seen a drop in employment. With advancements in evocation magic, agriculture has taken a big... Hold on. Snaking news. The king has outlawed magic. We're getting live updates from the castle right now. After a serf-led protest, the king has finally caved, outlawing magic for those not directly employed by the crown. Already, knights are raiding the College of Winterhold and arresting those practicing magic in public, with the assistance of anti-magic charms, which are controversial in and of themselves. Our war room analysts are predicting a severe resistance to this new law, but for now, we'll just have to wait and see. That's all the time we have for today. Remember to tune back in for more updates on snake or non-snake related subjects. This has been Dawson on Snake News. Signing off, have a nice snake.
This past weekend, there was a fashion show put on by the Fashion Industry Studies Club, or FISC. The show was outside at the amphitheater and had a garden couture theme. Before the show began, there were booths set up by vintage clothes stores and student artists to sell whatever they were selling. The friend I was with bought a homemade banana plushie. It was cool, but I kind of thought that seemed like a waste of money. I changed my mind about an hour later and went back and bought the second banana plushie. Now I understand the appeal. But anyway, the actual fashion show was super cool, with most of the designers creating several different outfits all within the same theme. My good friend Emily made her line almost completely out of trash. She made full outfits of woven plastic, which from a distance looked like just regular crochet. She also made parachute pants out of Target bags and a jacket made out of Shein packaging. Now, every line was amazing, but if it had been a competition and I had to be a judge, let's just say I know who I would choose. Clear bias aside, the time, effort, and personality put into each and every piece from every designer was evident. Another thing that's evident is that if you decide it's a good idea to wear your shirt off the shoulder the whole day, you should probably put on sunscreen on that shoulder. Or at least switch which shoulder is visible every once in a while to even it out. Regardless, my very abruptly diagonal burn was so worth it, and I'm so excited to see what else this club does in the future. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Thank you so much for watching this episode as well as all others.
If you want to see more from The Real Deal,
Or Snake News.
then you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or our website. As always, I'm your host, Rosemary.
And I'm Dawson Blankenbuehler Lee, the guy that kicks cats for fun.